Hello everyone, this is Greg with Group 6's video presentation of facilities planning and school finance options. The first thing that comes to mind for most when you think of facilities planning and school finance is it's very complex and it's very much a headache. It's our hope that after this video, it'll all seem a little bit simpler and a little clearer. Throughout the video today, we'll be talking about general obligation bonds or GO bonds, bond anticipation notes or BANs, certificates of participation or COPs, community facilities districts or CFDs, and finally, tax and revenue anticipation notes or TRANs. I'll give a brief description of each and then share a few pros and cons. For more detailed information, please refer to the single-page reference guide that accompanies this presentation. So first, why do school districts need to finance dollars? They receive dollars every year from the state on an ongoing basis. School districts need to borrow money to acquire land, construct or improve buildings or enhance facilities to meet the needs of a growing school enrollment. They can also use this to acquire equipment, fund working capital, refinance existing obligations, enhance cash flow, and in some rare instances, districts have needed to finance pension obligations. So, let's jump right in. When you hear of a school bond on the ballot, this is most likely a general obligation or GO bond. GO bonds are attached to property taxes and they're secured with an ad valorem to all properties within the school boundary. There's two types of GO bonds, a Proposition 46 and a Proposition 39. Each have different requirements and benefits, which we'll discuss in a few moments. These do require voter approval, but they allow a district to raise taxes, which provides investors with the greatest security and districts with the lowest cost borrowing option. Some of the benefits of a GO bond: these are secured by property taxes. It's considered a new revenue stream for the district. There's great security. And it does require voter approval. We talked about the differences. A Prop 46 has no limit on the amount that they can tax. This does require a 2/3 voters approval. A Proposition 39, on the other hand, for non-unified school districts can tax $30 per $100,000 of assessed value. And for unified school districts, they can assess $60 for $100,000 of assessed value. And this requires a 55% voter approval. Some of the cons: it does require voter approval. The available cash is tied to the growth or decrease in property value. These are generally tied to multi-year projects. It's very complex and technical in nature, and it requires a citizen oversight committee. And finally, when the district puts us on the ballot, they have to provide a list of all of the options, that all of the projects that they'd like to finance, and the district must stick to what it said on the ballot initiative. Next, let's move to BANs. A BAN is a bond anticipation note, similar in nature to a TRANs, which we'll discuss closer to the end of the presentation. And what this is a short-term borrowing mechanism that allows districts to leverage anticipated bond funding when a bond issuance isn't due. So bonds are generally issued in 2 or 3 issuances over a period of, say, 10 years. A district has a need and they have a bond issuance already approved, but it doesn't come for the next few years. A district can issue a BAN. Some of the pros of BANs: they're repaid from the GO bond issuance. There's a max term of 5 years, and the amount cannot exceed the approved amount by voters at the time. So you can't over-obligate your district from what the district is already going to receive. Some of the cons: it's a short-term loan. There's limited authorization use. With the BAN, they must stick to what the voters were promised. The funds cannot exceed the unsold GO bond capability. Next, let's move to certificates of participation or COPs. This is a form of municipal borrowing that the state constitution provides, and it is not considered a debt. It is backed by the general fund of the issuer, which would be the school district. Some reasons for COPs: it allows districts to make immediate facilities improvements They can use it to pay off GO bonds in the future when the assessed value of property has grown. What this money cannot be used for is general operating procedures. Some of the pros of COPs: they may be repaid over a long period of time. There's no voter approval required, and they can be used to purchase land, to build buildings, relocatable structures, vehicles. Some of the cons: it's a little bit riskier form of municipal debt, and the issuer does not have the authority to raise a tax to meet this obligation. And finally, this is an obligation on the general fund that the general fund is required to fully repay. Next, let's talk about community facilities districts. For home buyers, this is more commonly known as Mello-Roos taxes. And what this does is allows districts with voter approval to assess a tax or to levy a tax against property owners within a certain geographical boundary. Must be voter approved by property owners within the district, and these are generally issued when the developer fees don't meet the needs of the district. So if there's an anticipated growth in enrollment, new schools are required, or there's been an identified need for real rehabilitation within the school that developer fees or other financing mechanisms don't meet, a CFD can be developed. The pros: this is a levy on properties. It's a special tax for all parcels within the boundary, so that money is secured. It's a use of revenue to finance specified facilities or services, and this is borrowing money to assist specifically with facilities. The cons: it's geographic in nature. It must stick to the facilities within the geographic area. You have to have an identified need of expansion or real rehabilitation. And then finally, this is a special tax on the land, not on the landowner. So there's no personal debt to the owner. Finally, let's talk about the trans. Trans is a tax and revenue anticipation note. This is borrowing money in short term for anticipated dollars coming in. An example: over the fiscal crisis for school districts in the last few years, districts used the trans to borrow dollars to fund the cash gap when they weren't receiving their deferrals in time. Trans may be issued tax exempt, they may be sold competitively, or they may be negotiated. Some of the pros: they can be used for any purpose that the district is authorized to spend money. No voter approval required, and the source of funds is for temporary cash flow deficits. The cons: must be repaid from revenues of the same fiscal year, and the proceeds may not be invested for a term longer than the maturity of the notes. Hope that this presentation has given a little clarity and allowed you to sit back and relax when you hear the term school financing. Thank you. Have a good day.